The brand new tablet or smartphone or GPU that you grabbed last week, it's the cat's meow. But what happens to it, or to any of the devices once you treasure, when you don't want or need them anymore?
Where do they go? Is there a reliable green way to dispose of them?
And hey, does one extra electronic gadget in a landfill really put a big hurt on the environment?
Electrical and electronic waste, E-waste, is currently the largest growing waste stream. It is hazardous, complex, and expensive to treat in an environmentally sound manner, and there is a general lack of legislation or enforcement surrounding it.
Hello there everyone, this is Mehrun Farzana and Mohammad Rahman Ridai with you today, and we're here to talk on the causes and factors, impacts of e-waste and possible solutions to it. Let's get started. So, what is this e-waste? E-waste is an abbreviation of electronic and electrical waste. The word waste logically implies that the item has no further use and is rejected as useless or excess to the owner in its current condition. A definition from OECD says, any appliance using an electric power supply that has reached its end of life is e-waste, while the European Commission directive says, electrical or electronic equipment which is waste, including all components, assemblies, and consumables which are part of the product at the time of discarding. Now let's see what actually causes this waste. One of the leading causes is upgrades and innovation in technology. Old devices can wear out over time, hence becoming obsolete. Therefore, requires the need for us to upgrade. New software may become incompatible with old devices as the system requires a higher quality of hardware. For example, Windows 11 is not compatible with all the devices. We surely know that. Now you may all say, so what? If there's waste, you just need to remove them. And there's the problem. The lack of infrastructure to reduce e-waste in developing countries is a crucial cause for the piling up of e-waste. E-waste mostly ends up dumped in countries where environmental standards are already low and working conditions are poor. Moreover, developing countries lag in regulations and enforcement. In Africa, for example, the highly ineffective infrastructure for e-waste management lacks a well-established system for separation, sorting, storage, collection, transportation, and disposal of e-waste. Yeah, we surely can relate that by having a look at this picture of e-waste management in Ghana, West Africa, can't we? The end of intended use is another gradual factor. You see, the average lifespan of devices and the parts in them has rapidly been decreasing. Hence, we tend to throw them away, sometimes properly and sometimes improperly, which contributes to the overall problem of e-waste. And yeah, the last is about us. After all, we are the cause behind it. Do you know that tech entities tend to purchase a new device every year regardless if the previous model they bought is broken or not? Moreover, tech giants bring about updates every now and then, causing people to change their usable devices. And this chain has grown onto young people as part of fashion. Can you imagine the amount of e-waste produced from one brand alone? Yes, it's your very favorite iPhone in your hand. The appeal of the brand Apple has the pulling power to entice people to buy it every year, even if the upgrade is very minuscule. You see, Apple shipped 206.1 million iPhones in 2020. Wow. Yeah, pretty relatable, right? Who knows where our greed leads us?
Now, here we are trying to encapture where it is actually leading us, the impacts. Yeah, there is already a lot going on in the garden of E Waste. Takes a heavy toll on the environment. It causes air pollution as informal E Waste managers try to burn stuff away. It is a crucial source of environment to food chain contamination, as contaminants may accumulate in agricultural lands and be available for uptake by grazing livestock. What's more dangerous is that people have to carry on these loss from generation to generation, as the radiation simply does not fly away. If this could be a scenery of a barren field, what about our human body? Workers in waste recycling factories and residents of the area suffer from breathing difficulties, respiratory irritation, coughing, choking, pneumonitis, convulsions, neuropsychiatric problems, tremors, coma, physical injuries, and chronic ailments such as asthma, skin diseases, eye irritations, and stomach disease, and even death. Lead, mercury, cadmium, and other heavy metals, as even relatively low levels of exposure can cause serious and irreversible neurological damage and threaten the development of the child if pregnant women get in touch with E Waste. Want to see how? This is how. It wouldn't be hard to figure out stuff from this, right? Many studies point to a significant proportion of children working on these sites. They are mainly called scavengers or waste pickers, though behind the scene they are more than that. The pressure is on the developing countries, and accept it or not, you and I are part of it. Developed countries send 80% of their e-waste, often illegally, to developing countries such as China, India, Ghana, and Nigeria for recycling. Such globalization of e-waste is making the developing countries shoulder a disproportionate burden of a global problem without having the technology to deal with it. And this is what is happening in here, what they don't care about. So do we just sit there and watch ourselves drown?
Of course not. That's why talking about what to do is important. Firstly, local solutions. The future of e-waste management depends not only on the effectiveness of local government and the operators of recycling services, but also on community participation together with national, regional, and global initiatives. Informal recycling enables usually hazardous employment for thousands of people in poverty. Therefore, a first vital step should be attempt to address occupational risks in the sector. Awareness-raising activities are also needed on issues related to ESM and OSH and how to form cooperatives. This should be kept in mind when considering the role of information and education. Integrating the informal sector into the formal together with the creation of cooperatives could result in reduced pollution and better resource management. Now, what about international solutions? A possible international solution would be facility-based shipment, whereby any company seeking to export e-waste would have to sign a contract with a facility in a receiving country. A wide variety of stakeholders in importing and exporting countries need to be trained and educated on the issue. Moreover, stakeholders should have an understanding not only of the e-waste flow but also which government body or bodies are responsible for regulating it. Stimulating two-way flow between developed and developing countries would encourage manual employment-intensive operations in developing countries and material recovery operations in developed countries. Overall, the disparity between industrialized and industrializing world in rates of adoption of information and technology must also be noted as it continues to contribute to the gap in wealth. The criteria for green design include factors such as reducing toxicity and energy use, streamlining product weight and materials, and identifying opportunities for easier reuse in components and materials. The ATBC provides a list of criteria for assessment to minimize potential environmental, human health, and social impacts, including be carbon neutral, maximize design for repairability use and durable use, minimize use of raw virgin materials, reuse and apply zero waste policies, and many more.
What is happening in Bangladesh? Bangladesh has generated 10,504 metric tons of toxic e-waste from cell phone sets within the last 21 years. Every year, around 296,302 TV sets become scrapped and generated 0.17 million metric tons of e-waste. If you have a closer look at the assessment of e-waste generation and its future trend in Bangladesh, we can see that only 0.13 million tons of waste were produced in 2010, which rose gradually to 0.40 by 2018. Then it increased by 0.15 in 2020. It is assumed that this amount may soar to 1.21 million tons in 2025, with a sharp jump to 4.62 by 2030. Hey, we are only talking about challenges, and things are becoming heavier, aren't they? The good news is there are many opportunities awaiting as well. The booming demand for rare earth minerals used in the manufacture of electronics could boost US recycling in the future. The cost of recycling is declining in developed countries. There are other opportunities in green design, innovation, life cycle analysis, public outreach, social policy, and so on. Some companies are already starting to design product content for the reality of waste handling operations in developing countries. For instance, by leaving out chemicals that can create hazardous pollutants when burned inappropriately.
In the end, it is we who are the opportunities. E-waste recycling is necessary, but it should be conducted in a safe and standardized manner. The acceptable risk thresholds for hazardous secondary e-waste substances should not be different for developing and developed countries.
However, the acceptable thresholds should be different for children and adults given the physical differences and pronounced vulnerabilities of children. As students of CSE, some of us are going to be in tech giants in the future or maybe researching about this stuff. Can you imagine how massive an impact is awaiting to be made by this us?
Today, promise that the changes we are going to make will be positive, will be greener, and will make a difference. Because change starts with you. It starts with me. And it starts with all of us. Can you promise to take up the responsibility to save our Earth? That's all for today. Thank you all for your patience for the time being.
In case you have any questions or want to share any ideas, do feel free to contact us via email. Thank you all.